You know that split second when your phone lights up with an incoming call and your whole body just says no. Not a dramatic panic, just that quiet, stubborn resistance. The screen is right there. The name is right there. You could answer, technically. Nothing is stopping you. But something inside you freezes. Your thumb hovers over accept, then drifts, almost on its own, to decline or just lets it ring out. And as it's ringing, you're already rehearsing a text you'll send afterward. Hey, sorry, I missed your call. Even though you didn't really miss it. You avoided it. And what's strange is, you might actually like this person. You might care about them. You might even want to talk to them. Just not like this. Not right now. Not on the phone. The world has a lot of names for that moment. Antisocial, rude, immature, bad communicator. People these days can't even pick up a call. You've probably heard some version of that, directly or indirectly. Maybe a parent who says, "Why don't you just call them? It'll take 2 minutes." Or a friend who gets offended when you reply to their missed call with a text. Or people online talking about phone anxiety like it's laziness dressed up as a personality trait. It's very easy for other people to see that declined call as a flaw in your character. But it's not a flaw, it's a pattern. It's a very specific nervous system response, shaped by years of experiences, expectations, and tiny moments that most people never think about. And it usually makes perfect sense once you understand what's actually happening underneath that simple act of not picking up. So let's name it. This is the psychology of people who avoid phone calls. Not as a joke, not as a meme, but as something that has real emotional weight. Because there's more going on here than "I just prefer texting." And there's more going on here than "I'm shy." A lot of people who avoid phone calls are actually deeply sensitive to how connection happens. They are paying attention to things other people gloss over. Their brain is doing extra processing that no one else can see, and that invisible effort is exactly why a 5-minute phone call can feel like a lot. If you could watch your brain when your phone lights up, it wouldn't look lazy, it would look busy. A phone call is a kind of social jump scare. There's no warm-up, no context, no script. You go from zero to be present. Respond correctly. Read the tone. Don't say the wrong thing in 1 second. Your nervous system prefers predictability. It likes to know what's coming, so it can prepare. That's why texts feel easier. You see the message. You process it at your own pace. You decide how to respond. There's space. On a live call, that space disappears. Everything is happening in real time, and your brain is trying to do a lot at once. Decode tone of voice. Fill in missing facial expressions. Predict what the other person wants. Monitor your own voice, words, timing. Keep track of the conversation thread. For people with more sensitive nervous systems, higher social anxiety, or just finely tuned social awareness, this is heavy cognitive work. Some research in social neuroscience suggests that synchronous communication, like live calls, increases cognitive load compared to asynchronous communication, like texting or email. In plain terms, when everything is happening right now, your brain has to juggle more at once. And if you're already tired, stressed, or emotionally full, that extra juggling can feel like too much. So when you don't pick up, it's often not about disliking the person, it's about your brain quietly saying, "I can't regulate all of this right now." This pattern usually has roots. Sometimes it starts in childhood, in very ordinary ways. Maybe you grew up in a home where phone calls meant something was wrong. Teacher calling about school. A family member delivering bad news. A parent answering the phone and their face changing in a way that made your stomach drop. Your body learns, ringing phone equals possible threat. Even if you don't consciously remember that thought, your nervous system remembers the feeling. You hear the ring, and your body prepares for impact. It's not dramatic, it's just a subtle activation, a little tightening, a little bracing. Or maybe it's not about threat at all. Maybe you grew up feeling like conversations were tests, like you had to say the right thing to avoid disappointment, irritation, or conflict. In person, you could at least read facial cues, buy yourself time, by looking around, changing the subject. On the phone, all that feedback is stripped down, it's just silence and voice. For a kid who learned to scan for micro-reactions, a sigh, a shift in tone, a tiny pause, the phone becomes a high-alert environment. There's no delay, no edit button, no let me think and reply later. So your body does something very intelligent. It starts avoiding that channel when it feels overwhelmed. Other times, it's about repeated adult experiences. You might have had jobs where unknown numbers meant pressure. Customers, bosses, demands. You might have gone through a phase where every call felt like someone wanting something from you. Over time, your nervous system starts using a simple shortcut. Unknown number. Danger. Call instead of text. High demand. Ringing phone. Prepare to perform. Avoiding the call becomes a survival strategy. A way to protect your energy, your boundaries, your sense of control. It's less I hate phones and more, I've learned that I feel safer when I control the pace and the channel of communication. None of this is better or worse than being someone who loves calls. It's just a different nervous system style. Some people feel most connected when they hear a voice immediately. Others feel most connected when they have time to think, respond, and not panic about saying the perfect thing in 2 seconds. Some people regulate through live conversation, others regulate through written words, silence, and space. Neither group is more mature, more caring, or more real. They just lean on different tools to feel safe and present. The problem only appears when the world decides that one style is the right one. When spontaneous calls are labeled as real connection and everything else as avoidance. In reality, many people who avoid phone calls are incredibly loyal, thoughtful, and emotionally deep. They just show it differently. Long messages, carefully chosen words, checking in over text, voice notes recorded when they have the emotional bandwidth. Different doesn't mean defective. There's an interesting paradox. Here. A lot of people who avoid calls actually care a lot about communication, maybe more than average. They think before they speak. They replay conversations in their heads. They notice tiny shifts in tone. They worry about burdening people, interrupting, oversharing, undersharing. A live phone call removes their main coping tools, time and reflection. So the person who avoids calls might actually be the person who values your time and feelings the most. They want to show up well. They want to respond in a way that makes sense. They want to choose words that don't hurt you, confuse you, or mislead you. And, beneath the avoidance, there's often something very tender. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to be caught unprepared. I don't want you to hear my hesitation and think it means I don't care. So the call gets declined. Not because they don't care, but because they care so much that the risk of getting it wrong in real time feels heavier than they can carry in that moment. Of course, there's also a cost to this. Avoiding calls can mean missed opportunities, delayed resolutions, or a sense of distance from people who feel most loved through immediate voice contact. It can reinforce the idea that connection is exhausting, that being reachable always has to be a threat. But even that cost has a logic. Your mind is prioritizing emotional safety over social expectation. It's choosing not to overload a system that already feels close to its limit. That's not weakness, it's protection. If you see yourself in this, nothing about you is broken. Your reaction to phone calls is not random, and it's not a character flaw. It's a pattern that formed around very real needs. The need for control, the need for predictability, the need for emotional safety, the need for time to translate your inner world into words. And those needs are valid. The same sensitivity that makes spontaneous calls hard can also make you a careful listener, a deep writer, someone who doesn't respond on autopilot, someone who considers how their words land for others. There is value in that. Over time, some people find ways to gently renegotiate this pattern, maybe by setting expectations, scheduling calls instead of answering random ones, or choosing who gets live access and who doesn't. But even before any change happens, there's something powerful about just understanding. Oh, this is why my body tenses up when the phone rings. This is why I hesitate, even with people I love. This is why texting feels like relief, not avoidance. Awareness doesn't magically make the discomfort disappear, but it often softens the shame around it. And once the shame loosens, it's easier to experiment, to be honest with people, to say, it's easier for me to talk when I'm prepared. Can we text first? Can we schedule a time? If this touched something familiar in you, that tiny flinch when the phone lights up, that quiet guilt afterward, there's more to explore. Because this isn't just about phone calls, it's about how you manage closeness and space, how you protect yourself, how your nervous system learned to survive contact with other people. And once you start seeing that pattern here, you might start recognizing it in other parts of your life too. The invitations you hesitate to accept, the messages you stare at before replying, the way you sometimes need distance, right, when others are reaching for you. There are reasons for all of that, and none of them make you less worthy of connection.